introduce our next speaker, Ahnaf Prio with Junior Developer Level Up. Please give him a hand.
Okay. I know we just gave me a round of applause, but can we give another round of applause for these amazing organizers over here? Like, could not do this without you, and it's amazing to be out here and actually getting to connect with the community. So my name is Ahnaf Prio. I am an engineering consultant at Secure and Financial. I work with the customer platform team. I'm also the CTO of Tableau. It's an emerging startup based out of restaurant tech. And if there's anything you need to know about me, is that I love building things. So I tried to do this presentation kind of like along the same theme / plot line of my favorite movie, which is Zombieland. And Zombieland starts out by giving you a little bit more of the origin story. So I love building things, but why do I? So back in 2017, I'm originally from Bangladesh, and back in 2017, I was a physics major at the University of Minnesota Morris, and I was terrible at it. I was ready to drop out of college, so I went over to meet my friends in New York, and I was like, this last summer, and then I'm going to go back home. And I was working on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan at I Love New York gift store. I was like, okay, gonna go back home. Before that, I'm just gonna sell some souvenir products. As I kept working and working, I realized that store did not have any online presence. I had never written a single line of code in my entire life. I don't know even how programming works. But I went up to the owner one day. I'm like, hey, man, do you want a website? He's like, do you know how to build it? I'm like, well, I can figure it out. And fast forward, that entire summer, I was working there on the sides on the weekends. I would just find a cozy cafe, and I was working on this website. I had no idea how websites operate, but I looked up online, figured out that WordPress is a thing, and figured out you can make a WooCommerce website pretty easily. And I was like, this is amazing. It felt like playing a game of Legos. As a kid, I was obsessed with Legos, but like I put all these things together, and then at the end of the day, I could take a step back and realize, oh my God, I built this. Isn't this amazing? Sometimes it would be very ugly, but sometimes, even when it's ugly, I'm like, well, I did this. And I just fell in love with that entire feeling, right? And then I kept on chasing that feeling. I came back to Minnesota, went to my advisor, and I was like, physics isn't working out. I'm going to do computer science. She was like, OK, if you say so. So I switched to computer science. Me and my friends built out this healthcare Angular app. It's a web application. Learned a little bit more. And I was like, oh my God, I want to chase this feeling for the rest of my life. I want to keep building things. So I reached out to some other friends. Fast forward, I ended up working on this music streaming app called Gone. They're trying to be the Spotify in Bangladesh. That's where I'm originally from, and I love music. So I was like, sign me up. I'll help you build out that app. I also worked as a consultant for this San Francisco guy who wanted to make a website of all the jazz concerts happening in the Bay Area for the weekend. So I was like, hey, man, I found him randomly online. I'm like, you need a guy to make you that website? Sign me up. So I kept on chasing those things. And for the next 3 years, I built a lot of random stuff. These are like one of the most randomest stuff I've built. And I loved it. I tried to build an Alexa bot. I was like, can I talk about Google? Like, can I talk to my speaker? How do people do it? I looked up online, tried to figure things out. Let me remind you, I was still in college, so I tried to build a lot of dumb stuff too. I tried to build a party app. I tried to make a Cupid app. I tried to make a bot that can talk like me. I tried to make a bot that talks like my friend Chris. Also made a dad joke app and tried to make a Tinder auto swiper. We're not taking questions about that today. All right, so now that you guys know my origin story, let me give you, in the spirit of Zombieland, the trips and tricks that I learned over the last 4 years trying to build out these things. The first thing that I learned is the best piece of code is no code. Engineers love building things. I love building things. I was like, I don't know what I'm building, just give me the Lego pieces. Let me build something out for you, right? But here's an example where I realized the best piece of code is no code at all. You can't be trying to solve problems that do not exist. And even when you're trying to solve a problem through engineering, you got to figure out what's the best solution there. Like, you got to support this. You got to maintain this. As an engineer, now that has to support things, man, just do the simple things. Leave the complex stuff for more complex problems if it demands it to be. So here's an example. So I work for Securian, and we have daily stand-ups, right? and one person leads the stand-up, kind of. So we were like, we need to keep a rotation of our 12 team members of who's going to lead the stand-up today. I was working on my AWS certification. I was like, say less. I'm going to build out these Lambdas connected to the DynamoDB database. I'm going to put this React up on an S3. Oh, let's put it on a VPC, because we can't have public-facing people actually see our things. 3 days in, I had no code written and an architecture diagram that wasn't going to get created, because I needed so many different things to build this out. Day 4, I walked up, and my engineering lead, Paul Greenlee, solved the problem without writing any code. He was like, well, GitHub allows you to do PR reviews. Just put on a checklist over there, and we can keep rotating. 5 minutes for Paul, 3 days of me trying to build certain things. So clearly you can tell that sometimes the easiest win, just take it, because don't try to overcomplicate problems. All right. So now the second thing that I learned, seek out constructive criticism. I feel like a lot of times we try to be too hard on ourselves, where you're like, I don't know, everyone, I think engineers go through imposter syndrome the most, where they're like, am I even good enough? Am I writing the right code? There were days where I was like, if only the client knew that I have no idea what I'm doing and I'm just Googling things together and hoping things work, right? But with that being said, another aspect of it, you're only going to get better if you get to know what you need to get better on. First of all, be confident about the things that you're doing. And we're trying to solve problems here. It doesn't matter if you're spending time on Google. Use your resources. That's actually a prop to you. You knew how to use the tool sets around you to get the job done. But something that I learned is you gotta put yourself out there. I took PR reviews very seriously. If I wrote a piece of code and someone commented that, hey, maybe we could do this better, maybe we could do this a little differently, have you thought about this? I actually realized if I spend some time thinking about it, even if at the end of the day I did not make any code changes according to the review, I was learning from that entire discussion. And sometimes you just need to ask the right questions. You got to talk to your fellow engineers and ask them, your product people, ask them hey, is there anything I could do better? If you're actually seeking out growth, you got to ask the right questions. I am a pretty informal person. I would walk up and go on these walks with people, or we're hanging out at a happy hour. I'd be like, hey, can you tell me anything that I could have done better? Do you think there's stuff I could improve on? Very vague words, stuff. And then kind of ask them the right questions, because if you're not going to tell me how I'm going to get better. I've also tried random, crazy, beating around the bush approaches. In a hypothetical situation, Dan, where I could be a supercomputer and solve all our problems, what are some of the nanochips I should acquire to reach supercomputer stage? In short, man, can you tell me what I should work on? So with that theme of mentorship and actually seeking out things, the third thing that I learned is get a mentor. They help a lot. And there are people all around you, and people want you to succeed. They want to help you grow and learn and be better engineers and better humans in general. And a big part of my life, I feel like I gotten better throughout, not because I was doing things in a room by myself and learning from my mistakes. It was because I had a mentor that I could bounce off ideas with and actually ask the right questions about. I think mentors help a lot, trying to give you that career direction of where you want to go. And I just wanted to give you a quick 3-step process of how I think, for most of my ones, how I got my mentors. You got to find, number one, is you got to find someone in your field or someone who's really passionate about the same things that you are. If you're into computer security and you want to, down the road, be a security guy, find that person in your company who's the security lead, or find that one person that you interacted with who knows more than you and would probably be a good resource to bounce off ideas of. So that's step number one, identify the target. Step number 2 is ask them if you can schedule a couple of one-on-ones with them. Most people are people are busy, but you'll be surprised by the number of humble people out there who want to actually mentor people to be better. In a company I work for, if I reached out to my architects and I said, hey, can I schedule some sessions once a month with you? Chances are they're going to say yes, and they have said yes, because that benefits them too. When they mentor other people who are better, that's benefiting all of us. And they're getting really good leadership skills out of it too. So that's step number 2. Ask them, hey, can I schedule a couple of one-on-ones with you? Can we meet bi-weekly? Can I even shoot you some emails or messages sometimes to just be like, is this the right way to do things? Number 3, prepare actual questions. I'm not going to try to throw buzzwords like ask smart questions and things like that, but ask them the right questions that you really want an answer for. Like I have spent a lot of time trying to beat around the bush and be like, how do you get to be better? Yeah, that's a good question to say, but if you ask your tech lead, how do you get to be better? What do you mean by that? At engineering, at collaboration, what aspect, what are we trying to do? So ask them exactly. I remember asking my CTO, it's like, you seem to be really good at delegating. Clearly, you run an entire department at delegation. And a lot of times, you're probably not the subject matter expert, but the people who are reporting to you are subject matter experts. How do you do this? How do you manage people who are experts and you're not? And those are actual questions I wanted to learn because I know down the road, I was going to work with other product people, QA people that I don't know, but I really wanted to learn how to work with in a in an environment where people are just good at different skills and which are not my skills. All right, so yeah, ask them the right questions. So those are my 3-step processes. Find the target, schedule some time, and actually ask real questions so that you can benefit from them. The other things that I've learned is working with other developers opens up this entire realm of all these things you can learn. Everyone likes to solve problems differently, and chances are they will give you a learning opportunity that would be really beneficial. I have worked with developers and Securian that has helped me a lot, and that we're not on my team. I'm like, oh wow, I never thought about it that way, that we could solve this. I've worked with engineers back in India, back in Bangladesh, who have a unique way of solving their problems. Everyone has their own different cultures. And chances are, throughout your entire engineering career, you gotta work with a lot of different people. So working with other developers opens you up to actually learn from them, and also bouncing off ideas, teach them too. There are a lot of times in this collaboration session, someone is learning from you. Don't forget that you're pretty good at what you do too. And this collaboration moments goes both ways. Some of the things that has helped out a lot for me is we pair program a lot. And I think pair programming is a really good exercise where you actually get to solve these problems and actually have someone to bounce off those ideas with. I think out loud a lot. So at first, I was a little skeptical. As I'm solving a problem, I hum random songs that are in my head. Last time I was Frozen's Olaf Summer song, right? I'm okay, I don't know if I should be pair programming on this. But as I was doing this, I had a really fun time pair programming with my friend Ben. And he actually taught me about a couple of things that are supposed to be things that I should be better at. But what I want to say is don't be weird about it, thinking that, okay, I need to make sure that I'm on my top game right now, pair programming. It's a collaboration effort, and we're both learning from each other. Something that we have tried very recently is mobbing. I don't know if you guys know about mobbing. So we've just been experimenting with this for over a sprint. That was a really fun time too. I'll be honest, I was that person in that group who was very distracting because I was all my friends and engineers are here. Where there would be times in the Teams chat, I would put down emojis, and then my engineering lead was Ahnaf, concentrate. But it was a really fun experience, and I actually got to learn from the other side of the other engineers what they were working on and benefit from it. So now down to the last one that I feel this is the one that I hold really close to my heart. It's okay to fail. I feel we think about a lot in our head, do I know how to do this? Do I really need to can I actually build this out? And I feel we should normalize failing a little bit more, especially when you're a junior developer. No one is expecting you to invent the next metaverse, right? Go out and build out apps. And if your product person is saying, hey, I want to build this out, or your engineering lead is saying, hey, I want someone to take this task, and you're not an expert in it, but you're interested, raise your hands anyway. Hey, I don't know how to do this, but can I give a shot at it? And try it out. And chances are, people will realize that you're going to try your best, and that's all that matters. This is probably one of my favorite code ever. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Wade Zesky, Michael Scott. So yeah, let's shoot your shot. The number of tasks that I have signed myself up for where I had no idea what I'm doing is too long to even count anymore. But every time, even when I didn't solve there were multiple times I didn't solve the problem. But even when I didn't, I learned so much from that experience that it all adds up. I think we should, as a junior developer, you should seek out every opportunity you can get, provided you find it interesting or is it good for you, and then just shoot your shot. So a couple of other things that I wanted to gear towards is like, technology moves really fast, right? So when I started, I was building out a website, then a web app, and then I was like mobile apps, and now I'm trying to do Alexa stuff, Tinder's auto swiper, whatever. So how do you keep track of things? And like, if you're like a junior developer, how do you actually get access to all these different tools? So I was going to list a couple of the tools that I personally found very, very useful. The GitHub Student Developer Pack, when I was in college, was like a game changer. The amount of free credits that I was getting to host my DigitalOcean droplets, like the amount of very stupid things I've built out on that platform is like crazy. Anywho, but I learned a lot from it. AWS even gives you a free tier, right? So go over there, build things on the cloud, experiment with it. Who's watching? It doesn't matter. Go out there and chase it down. I really like Code Academy. I felt like I'm like more of a hands-on learner, so I had like an entire walkthrough where I was actually coding against like the website, just like you can run the compiler on the web application itself. So I found Code Academy super useful. Free Code Camp is one of my favorites too. But if you learn a little differently than I do, like read those books. Like I have had a lot. I am personally not that person who buys a new book every time I need to learn something new, but I do know people who do, and it's so good to actually submerge yourself into that depth of knowledge. If you want to try to learn about GraphQL, go buy that O'Reilly book. You want to learn about Alexa skills, go read about it. Chances are there's probably even a free PDF out there, and you don't even have to spend time on this, right? So even with that being said, if you're interested in something that you really find passionate about, you don't know how to go about it, there's no books about it, I doubt it. There's no people you can talk to about, use Google. Like, Google's your best friend. It's literally out there. Chances are someone's passionate about the same things that you are, and someone wrote an article about it. The number of times that I've like gone down this Reddit rabbit hole or Medium article hole where I was just learning about things that I'm passionate about that I've never worked on is too many, and I've learned and enjoyed every moment of it. So yeah, that was my entire talk. I wanted to give a bit of a time for a Q&A session if you guys have any questions. But if there's anything that I could leave you guys with, I feel like as a junior developer, you have a lot of opportunities. The world is your oyster. Carpe diem. Go fail.
Thank you.